All right, we are now live on YouTube. Welcome, everybody. Hope everyone's having a good Friday. Let's see what the charts are saying today. Um, and one thing I want to do is I would like to go. Well, first, as we're getting some nice price movement here, we'll go ahead and take a look at what we see ahead. Obviously, I'm still kind of waiting for a nice third tap right here. We are coming into a smaller order block. Let's see, I believe it was a 15-minute block right here. Um, but as New York is opening, it doesn't look the best. So we could get one more sweep in the zone, one more tap into the point of control of this larger range. And it just chopped there for a little bit, but we'll see if New York actually has a strong conviction and direction one way or the other. Um, and like, what would you want to see here? So these are things that I kind of like to kind of envision in my mind, right? So I don't always, well, I don't really hardly ever expect something like this to just pump up, um, and have a massive retracement, right? Because we only had like two taps down at the bottom. You were just starting to form a range, no really clear
JP,
signs of
you're not sharing the
accumulation.
screen.
Oh, thank you. I'm on YouTube as well, by the way. So, but I will definitely share it here. I know people don't want to go over there. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Can y'all see the screen now? Should be able to. Awesome. Okay, cool. So yeah, so let's get back. So basically what I would just and this is a part of seeing things in hindsight that is very important, right? Because it's training your brain on what to see. So as you can see, like, coming back to the point of control previously, you think that okay, maybe we can just have one little bounce in the point of control and you're automatically just going to fly back up to some larger retracement area, but it's not likely to happen because we're looking at bigger positioning, we're looking at a bigger accumulation to form. um, and you can see that here. So just imagine you're making a high here, you come back down to the point of control same way you did here. Yeah, you had a bounce at point of control, but the move actually took a while to form. So basically, what I'm saying is trying to train your brain so you don't get so attached to a level and thinking that it's just automatically going to pump up from that one tap alone. And you're looking for in these bigger positioning areas, especially when you have higher time frame order blocks, or you're in a position like this in a higher time frame fixed range, or maybe it's a monthly session volume profile or a weekly volume profile. Um, so you can see what happened here, right? Hit the point of control, formed an accumulation under it, came and back tested, right? You have a very clear line of support, turns into resistance, flips that, and turns back into support. And you can do it, with horizontal lines, or you could try to do things more aggressively with trend lines, stuff like this. And you can see this here as well. And we'll get into this price action, but I'm sure it's going to take a minute since we're at a larger point of control. Um, and again, same thing here. You that first hit down to point of control, similar to this. First hit down, you do have a trade, right? But what I'm saying is your expectation of that trade needs to make sense. And in the same way we did over here, very similar, I would use the same tools. Just seeing where trend line breaks, market structure breaks. Now, usually trend lines, micro trend lines are going to break much sooner than market structure. Majority of the time. You never know. Sometimes it can flip flop back and forth. Um, the market doesn't always guarantee one thing or the other, no matter what you're using and what you're looking at. And that's why I use so many different styles of trading and so many different tools so I can figure out which one this time is giving me that most aggressive entry, or at least align the sand to where we can look for some type of flip and control. And again, that's really obvious here. Get a nice trend line. That trend line breaks, and you get that retest here. And you could say, oh, you broke internal structure, but I don't really use internal structure. I don't really even use market structure all that much either, um, for my entries. And really, since this low did not take this low like that, I wouldn't count that as my swing high. But of course, it's 30-minute structure. You could always go down, blah, 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 you know. But the point is, use different tools. You don't have to be stuck to one tool. Point number two, have correct expectations of your zone. This is what keeps those premature trades, um, trying to keep those as winning trades and not turning into losses. So, what would you do here, right? When you first get this put in and you get a nice trade, you have to look for the same idea on the flip side to go against you. And since this was kind of a more of a tap one of a high time frame zone right here, I'm kind of looking for something like this to be put in here, right? And so this could take hours, could take days, and sometimes, it does. It just gets a flash down sometimes if you really have one of those days. But that's not always normal. What's more common is you see stuff like this and like this, right? So I'm just trying to point out, and same thing here. You just see how long this took to play out. That could do the same thing here when you're at a major high time frame area or location. And same thing if you were to come down to the value area low, or better yet, below the value area low. And let's move all this stuff out of the way. Again, look how this formed. This wasn't just a simple in and out in like 5 seconds or 5 minutes or 30 minutes. Took a long time to form, right? So I'm still looking for that right here. And as I posted yesterday in the Discord, this is just kind of like the bottom of that channel. So this is the first area that I'd be looking for longs here now. And we'll go into order flow to take a look at what we see there. However, it depends on how much of a fight we put up here. And if we do start to break down here, I want to take a back test short and hold it to value area low, or preferably probably down here, because most of the times we're going to deviate this value area low. But it is a good idea to maybe take some profit here as well as that previous week low if we do get that move, right? So let's go to order flow really quick just to take a look, see if anything favorable is happening here. We are getting a pretty nice CVD divergence, some absorption. It looks like my bookmap data failed right here, as you saw that little alert here that I closed out. When you get like the price line that looks like that, it's usually a dip in connection and data. So don't like that. Take a look at Market Monkey as well. Very nice rejection off the monthly VWAP. But it's very early into New York Open, so you do have to be careful. And do we have any news today? My next question. Let's take a look at that really quick. I thought we did have some. Okay. So consumer sentiment, nothing too crazy. And again, let me talk about like getting into entries and like what are your expectations? Let's dive into that just a little bit more because I want to show y'all the trend line aspect and how that can help get into some really nice entries using for confluence, using for entries, whether it be a location level or a reason for something to break. And what is that telling us? So it gives us a layer of when control is failing, no different than any other kind of structural break, right? So trend lines also have a little bit of extra magic versus just using market structure alone. Like you can wait for market structure to break, but a lot of the times, just like this here. And again, I get it. You can go on multiple different time frames, and that's what makes market structure even harder to use. Because, say, for example, this SFP happened right here, and you're waiting for that break. You're waiting for market structure to break here. You would have thought that, okay, potentially SMC price action tells us if we SFP a low, then we potentially go to a high. But this could have been a full break on the 15, 10, or 5 minute, right? So it gets a little confusing. You got to flip around a lot of different time frames, but it's just a lot more simple to find your channel, trend lines, whatever you want to call it, all the same, right? And what is this magic that it's giving us versus just market structure? Because many people use swing structure, internal structure. They have different rules on how they draw structure. So it can be a little subjective. Sometimes trend lines and channels are a lot less subjective, and it's just easier to simplify trading in that way. But what kind of magic does the trend line give us? Someone answer in the chat. Y'all should know this by now. I'll give you all a minute. Anybody? What is that thing that trend lines give us? Yes, stop losses, exit liquidity, forced flow, right? That's what we learned in the last module. Okay. So when you have all these longs building up over the course of 1 day and 6 hours, 30 minutes, you already automatically know that you have a lot of stop losses here. So when you break into their territory, you're going to get the help of force flow. We broke out of that channel. You saw that we had a nice absorption right here, back tested that channel to perfection, right? And this is just the easiest way to understand structural points, whether it be just lines on a chart, whether they be horizontal, diagonal, whatever, right? And you can follow this down over and over and over again. Same thing. Back test one, break the trend line, take the liquidity from all the longs here, even the passive side that absorbed right here. If you had a large buy wall that absorbed all of the selling, once they get past here, even those passive buyers are now trapped. You break down, force flow from the rest of these guys here and these guys here, force flow down, and again, come back test a nice trend line for the bottom of this diagonal range channel. So I'm looking at these as just channels, trend lines, diagonal ranges. So if you love trading ranges, they do come in diagonal forms as well. Same thing here. You form an accumulation just to hit that last trend line or that diagonal range low, and you come back and do it again over and over and over again. And again, it's also fractal, so you can go down on lower time frames and see the same thing throughout here. But we will be learning a lot more about that in the module that will be releasing, the last module in the order flow course. And I'm going to teach y'all a handful of different ways that you're going to be able to see entry triggers. So you're going to combine everything you've learned in module 5 with the behavioral confirmations as you're watching that battle go down. You're also going to stack everything in module 6 with the positioning tools as well as the force exit tools. And then you're going to have your actual entry triggers, which is basically the way to say, hey, when does control actually flip? Specifically for a reversal and a break and retest continuation. Now, the only third option is a breakout trade. And we'll get into that because that's very nuanced and that's going to be a little bit more in the course. I don't use those as much, but I'm going to show you how to use those in the best way possible. So this trend line right here is really trying to put in some work, as well as the point of control, as well as monthly VWAP. We did take that 15-minute order block. We're still on the larger order block here. So now's the point. They're actually really flipping control here. You still had a very nice CVD divergence. Wish my data was filled in a little bit better here, because that just went straight across as well as price. Okay. Yeah, it's really reclaiming the monthly VWAP now. You had a pretty strong delta flip. Even with that purple candle here, you still had 20% positive delta in that candle. I've not pulled the trigger in a long yet. I'm honestly not convinced just yet. I want to see how this candle closes on the 30-minute, because the 15 and the 5 are probably not going to look good here. The reason I don't want to long yet, again, same reason I was telling you to in this situation. I don't want to be prematurely longing anything just yet, because I might actually want to flip to a short. So I'm going to let this build a little bit. I'm going to be patient and let it build. It's looking decent, but there's not incredible follow through here. I'm still looking at this and the strength that we had here and questioning this. We do have some new longs opening up. Yeah, I'm going to wait to see if this thing can get a nice little push and then a back test, or have a retest somewhere before I jump in. Anybody taking a long trade this morning or just now? A quick peek at NQ and ES. Yeah, that supply on ES was very nice. That would have been a great trade. Anybody trading NQ or ES today? Or is everybody looking at Bitcoin? All right, let's zoom out a little bit here. Take these off the chart and get some of these off the chart as well. This is going to be the third 4-hour candle wicking into the point of control and the bottom of this trend line here. And again, I'm just kind of viewing these as like nice parallel channels or diagonal ranges. And I still use my liquidity pockets on these diagonal ranges. Actually, this here, right about there. This one up. So you can use your parallel channel tool in the same way you draw your ranges, or you can just use a line, either one. Well, we're having some nice rejections here. Don't care how this looks on the 15-minute though. So right now I'm kind of looking at the supply to see the reaction here. Because my instinct here is, trying to trade with the trend, right? Sure, this could be a nice long area. However, I don't think this is going to be the exact bottom just yet. Go down to the 5 and take a look at that zone. It's trying to reclaim New York open now, so that looks strong. Do we have anything up here for a potential back test of VWAP? I'm going to take this same color block right here. I'm not too impressed with this area though. There's not a whole lot of volume here. I still want to see this 30-minute candle close. If we close like this in the 30-minute, this might be the bottom for the day. Might be the low for the day. And if we can really flip VWAP, then we can actually go with some strength here and try to find the back test of VWAP. Get that out of the way as well. So right now, VWAP's kind of the line in the sand. Strong 30-minute candle, though. Really is. Yeah, they're definitely buying the top, or they're starting to stop out some of these shorts from here. Would have liked to seen this area hit, but you will see liquidity patches front run all the time. It's pretty common. So now we're getting to that VWAP area on Binance. 5-bit is catching up. It's not a whole lot of liquidity here. So it definitely can move up for sure. This is not a whole lot of liquidity for Bitcoin. This thing could definitely pump strong. Oh, we do have a lot of large lot trackers here on the vertical white lines. So we do have some, well, there they go. Yeah, I wouldn't really be too much worried about any of this here until something stronger pops up. So if you're in a long position, I would definitely hold on to it. It's no super strong resistance at the moment. I don't see any signs of breaking down, any signs of reversal at all. It's a very strong continuation. Yep. Very nice back test VWAP there. So let's see if it can break this supply. See if we can't find a re-entry somewhere. Right to the top of that.
There's a 2-hour order block over that high you have.
Is it? Take a look at it. Nice. Yeah, yeah. So let's turn these bad boys back on so we can see all the blocks ahead of us. Yeah, I would love for it to go up right around that previous month VWAP where we have these overlapping order blocks. We do have a 2-hour. I think that was what, 15-minute maybe? Yeah, there's a tiny little 15-minute that has a nice overlap with that previous month VWAP that I'm looking at. I want to alert right there.
I was waiting all night for NQ to come back down
Yeah.
and hit this 15-minute block, and I missed it, bro.
Oh man.
Actually, I kind of didn't see the CBD dip.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think one was really there on my motive wave, so I didn't take it. But this shit launched off.
Yeah, that was a very nice order block. Didn't need too large of a stop loss there. Let's see what the 1 minute looks. Oh man, that can't almost looks like a Renko chart.
Yeah, I think this one's going back to all-time high, bro.
Let's zoom out.
I was waiting. I
Let's
was literally
zoom
waiting
out.
all night for this because I missed the first bounce
Yeah.
because I was posting the charts on the Discords, but waiting for it to come back. Man, missed it. Now I was waiting for Bitcoin to come down to this 18-hour block or 786 area, but I guess it wanted to bounce off the value area low in my little range that I have.
Let's see. Have you caught any trades today yet, Red?
Uh,
Still,
no,
still
I
waiting.
did like yeah, I did catch like a break even and
Mm-hmm.
hit one of my TPs on NQ. And I
Yeah.
was just been chasing it all the way down, kind of waiting for these hot spots, and I just woke up and missed them, I guess.
Man, I really wanted to see it really maintain VWAP here. Because kind of like you see this happen a lot on New York Open where you put in a range, pump, sweep, and then continue on. And this is kind of like what I post the sweep zones. When you make a zone like that, and a lot of people get really messed up on this because they're trying to simplify it down to RIMC and they think, oh, we're going to bounce right here from this range. But especially if New York's opening, gotta watch for those lows to be swept. That is a very common New York Open move. Take a look at ES really quick here on the 5. Yeah, so ES and NQ are on the same path today. Everything looks pretty similar today. I like it when it's like that.
This NQ pissed me off, bro.
Dude, NQ's crazy sometimes. You gotta be careful. Um,
I was
those
just
moves happen quick, you
waiting
know?
for it. That was the
Yeah.
move I was waiting for, bro.
Yeah, you gotta be ready. Like on the button sometimes with NQ. So this is a decent looking, yeah, no, this is a good looking reaccumulation pattern in an uptrend. So this is a great BART setup or break and retest trade. And I would like to see the high taken and continue on here. But as you can see throughout here, the volume's kind of dying off right here. So someone really needs to pick it up, pressing the buy button. Do have some nice reloading here, but it's nothing crazy as far as size just yet. But again, size doesn't always show itself. It can come in icebergs. As you can see, every time they try to hit this area, goes down to 100 or less and then just pops right back up to 160, 170. So someone's really got to press harder. Or these guys just flow up, right? They'll put their limits further up and up and up. So we did get that bearish divergence right here. We just had a small structure break from this low, microstructure. But again, could just be, a very, very short-lived pullback just to continue on here. Because the idea is that, hey, you're going with the trend, the New York session trend at the moment. Still maintaining over VWAP. And on Binance, you've pretty much claimed it. Yeah, I want to see higher. I want to see higher at this point. I'm with you, Red. Let's look at this 2-hour order block and see what we get. Zoom out a little bit real quick. Then we're going to take a look at our session volume profiles as well to see what interesting levels we have. There's some decent size starting to show up here. I like that a little bit better. Let's see if they mean business or not. Got a little bit of a void above that though. So if they pull, yeah, the next meaningful patch is up here at 65. A little bit right there at 64.87, 64.7.5. And again, these type of moves here, I just look at this as kind of like a bull flag or SMC language, reaccumulation. Unless you really start to get this wider trend line start to break, right? So something just more significant than something rather extremely local. So this would be kind of like your first local trend line breaking, but that's nothing, right? Sometimes it's usable if you actually get really nice delta flip. We did have like a sweeping CVD divergence, massive absorption, massive trap, but we're not getting anything. We're not getting any of that. No signs of turning around right now. We had that micro CVD divergence. Where is that? Right here. And that was it. But that kind of gave you a micro pullback, right? So the more micro you go, just set your expectations accordingly. But again, now, okay, yeah. I was going to say, we're not quite to that previous month VWAP, but we are there now. And look what's on the heat map right at our level. It's exactly what you want to see. But just take notice all of your purple delta bubbles or your bearish delta bubbles. Don't see a whole lot of strength just yet from these guys. Okay. So when you come up to your resistance and you do get some kind of confirmation, you might want to be a little bit aggressive since you're fighting a trend. Get that off now. And again, this is why I love to overlap my order blocks. Even though we have a higher time frame, that 2-hour, we do have a lower time frame one. So I always overlap my order block. Same thing as we had here. You had this order block inside the other order block that gave you a nice scalp trade. So when you hit these, sometimes it's actually the more concentrated part in that order block, and you can use the volume profile for that. So inside this order block, where's the most volume? The biggest peak, right? That's right here, previous month VWAP and a lower time frame order block. So now you can be watching this bigger trend line to break for a little bit more meaningful control flip. Then we can come over here, take a look at Delta. What is Delta and open interest showing us? CBD already getting that Delta divergence as price is rising. But always have it in the back of your mind. Be very, very careful of short squeezes. This is why we don't want to just trust divergences on their own, right? We need a little bit more of a confirmation that control is flipping. And that's where the actual entry triggers come in. Absorption is not the moment where you want to just blindly enter a trade. And you did have some nice entry triggers here on that low. Wasn't the best, however, the reclaim of monthly VWAP in and of itself was an entry trigger. It's no different than what we were looking at before, right? Like when you lose point of control and you reclaim it, back test it, lose point of control, reclaim it, back test it. I'm looking at all of these intraday levels, especially the weekly and monthly ones, even the previous day ones. Very, very strong for their session, intraday, or scalp trading. The previous day is still very strong. But when you get those weekly and monthly type of intraday levels that you can play, those are really, really nice. So we are getting a nice reaction here
Trying to put the value area in the wick. Oh man, just barely,
on
barely.
MMT on
Yeah,
5. Yeah.
I almost had it, but I guess. But you said that's enough, right? That's pretty much enough.
Yeah. I mean, that's close enough to where I'd consider value area in the wick. And again, the most important part is just your size of, and again, we see that with the point of control. What is the largest area? But the point of control is giving, it's not counting delta, right? So it's giving you the point of control of both buyers and sellers. But what you can do here is just kind of look at your buying, your actual Bitcoin size. So you had 329 right here, 312, 264, 275. So that's some decent size, but it's all relative to the day and what's, large size for that day. Um, and again, that comes into play mostly when you're trying to get really two ways. One way you're going to be using is context for any entry. Number two, you're going to be using it for an extremely aggressive entry. And that's all going to, be in the course. That needs to be explained very carefully and very responsibly because that is the most aggressive trade playbook I have that I use, my most aggressive strategy. So it has to be matched to a certain trade management strategy as well. So we're coming back in right to these stacked imbalances. And basically, what is that saying? Where the power came in from these buyers that really outweighed the sellers in this candle. These guys want to defend that level. So they really don't want price to go beneath where they got in position. They don't want to be in the red, right? So that's the one of the context clues of continuations, even sometimes reversals when you get them in certain areas. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, we're watching the level, right? You want to watch the battle at that level. What's happening here right now? And then ultimately, how does that resolve? So that's the resolution is what's keeping you out of premature trades. And that's where all the entry triggers start to come into the picture. So we have more trap buyers here adding to these trap players. If we can get under these stacked imbalances, you got even more trapped alongs up here. So that's what you want to kind of chill, be patient. Wait for the trap to actually be a trap, right? There are ways to front run these things, but I'm not going to get into that here now because that's very aggressive and definitely needs to be done with a certain level of responsibility. Okay, so let's take a look at that here now on Bookmap. So you are starting to get one of those kind of oblong rising Model 2s. This is a common picture on NQ. You do see these on Bitcoin from time to time, but these happen a whole lot in I'm sorry, NQ. Yes. We do see that nice divergence being put in. We have some nice delta throughout this push, nice delta throughout this push. Tries again, but on this peak here, what is that telling us? The buyers are starting to dry out, but at the top. That doesn't mean they can't come back in here, right? So you're starting to get your signs of reversal, but it's in an uptrend, right? So just keep that in mind. So the idea here is if you did take this short and there was a setup here, you're going to have to treat it as a counter trend setup, right? Because this thing come right back to VWAP, and then that's where we see the next reaccumulation. Even if it actually makes it back there, which I think it would. You could see something like that here. And that would be the trade to look for if you missed this one down here, right? So if you didn't get into the trade, and if we are trying to consider this as a reversal pattern, then yeah, you're going to have to look next for a BART setup, break and retest, break VWAP, retest it. So the next thing I would like to do is I want to see this leg of structure. What was that built on? Was it built on strength or weakness? And we can see through that structure, not a whole lot of shorts. You had longs coming in with open interest. So, yes, a lot of this leg of structure was actually longs opening up new contracts. So, new positions, new money flow, fresh longs to be swept out, or fresh longs to defend. Okay, now that we've spent a little time here, I'll let some of the freebie guys join us on YouTube if they want to. For a happy Friday. So, everyone in the chat, anybody trading anything? DB, I know you're always in a trade, right? Killing it as usual. Were you were you in that trade from the bottom? What was it 62 598? Nice. So you had a really, really nice entry. Oops. Stop that. Take that one off now. So you got in right around here. Yeah, so this is starting to look like a nice distribution. Could always come back, reform a reaccumulation here once we get into this demand here. Could pop up and you see more of a prominent third tap over here. Or maybe this is just your third tap here. And more of that horizontal, I'm sorry, the diagonal Model 2 look. Let's see if they hold. Like to. Yeah, we are building some volume here. I would like it to just really take a nice quick flash. Something drastic. Below VWAP, flash down to previous weak VWAP here. This point of control, the volume. Take out some longs. Then continue on. But yeah, if this thing's going to be really, really bullish, it's not going to have much of a pullback. Let's see what's going on in Q. And yeah, Pump City. Pump City. So yeah, now just kind of looking for that to form. This being kind of looking like that. And then you break this trend line here. That's where I would look for a short. That's going to be your more conservative setup. Breaking this, betting on that you're going to fill all of this volume, or the volume void rather, right? Break, back test, rocket through, maybe back to New York Open here, go ahead and just sweep the lows. So that's my next setup. And, oh, I'm going to put an alert right here at the lows. Looking pretty good for the distribution so far. I'm liking this. Starting to break that trend line here. Just a little bit lower. Come on. We did get that nice divergence from the high put in earlier this morning. Price going up, CVD going down. And I like that one versus over just anything super local. But I like to stack those. You have your higher time frame. In this case, it's only 5 minute, right? But nonetheless, you're coming from swing structure to your next swing structure, right? Instead of just coming into here and finding something very, very micro like this. But they both help. They both give you confluence or stacked confirmations. Really trying to defend this level. Yeah, I want to see this broken. I want to see these passive players getting trapped. I bet you would, DB. I know you're looking for continuation since you're long. Did you? Okay, so you're not fully out of your long? Doesn't look like it. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, this distribution might only take us back down to the daily VWAP or even New York VWAP. I would like to take all of this back, actually, but I do see some heavy stacked imbalances here. And as my alert is going off, that's giving us the signal that we are breaking that trend line. Would like to see the tape light up with size right now. Lots of speed. Right now, it's dead, so that's not great. um, Come on, pick it up, pick it up. Yeah, getting stacked imbalances out of that zone through that trend line. No, don't disappear. That's not good. That's not good. We need that candle to close with stacked imbalances. Yeah, coming right back into that previous week VWAP. And so at this point, again, that context is now all of these buyers are trapped underwater. And so once you start to really flush some people out, you'll want to see OI start to dip down. Big, my case, purple candle. So you want to see this go down, net longs go down, and hopefully net shorts come in to give us even more strength.
I found what you said interesting the other day where you
Yeah.
were well, I'm looking at the last two candles. They were pretty much shorts closing, which gave
Yes.
us that last big pump. So
Hmm.
right now, what you explained the other day, we're not really trapping anyone until we get to
Right.
that long dildo candle down there.
Yes. Yeah. So now there's always going to be a mix of players, right? It's never just going to be isolated to stop outs being, like, so say for example, this move up here, you had OI coming out, which is telling you, hey, someone's getting stopped out, right? Someone's leaving the
Mhm.
market, closing their positions, being forced out. We do have liquidations down here, but always remember the majority of people getting stopped out are getting stopped out by stop losses. Stop losses aren't going to show up in liquidations here. Only people that are getting over leveraged and can't maintain their margin get fully liquidated. So this is only some of what's going on. And that's why I was trying to really hammer that home in the course on the forced exit side of like the majority of people get stopped out from stop losses. So it's only going to show up on delta. Um, but the point that you're making, yeah, and that I was kind of talking about the other day, yesterday, I believe. So if this move is majorly made on people getting stopped out, then that means there's no one being punished here, or at least not the majority, right?
Mhm.
So the,
Yeah. So
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just saying that now that we're back under VWAP and into that big candle,
Yeah.
I guess we are starting to trap some longs.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
you're going to have
that-
longs
that's
trapped
that's the
throughout.
way I'm looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
No, no, no.
but
You're right. You're
the
absolutely right.
the majority of that push is starting
Right.
to get trapped.
Yeah.
I
So,
guess that's the way to say it.
absolutely. So, as you're coming up into this area, this liquidity wave, that means that a lot of the times when you get over this high, this high, this high, you start to see those wicks, wicks, wicks. Usually when you see that, it's because you're getting a fast stop out, but that fuel is finite right there. So it can only take it so far. So that's usually what happens at highs like this. And that's usually why we see that, hey, these force exits, a lot of people try to play them by using as breakout zones to buy into continuation. But usually what happens is that fuel of those stop losses aren't enough to get past a sell wall here. So it needs to be a very prominent swing high for those breakouts to work. And a lot more detail on that in the course. And it's not one of my favorite setups by any means because of this, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, market makers know where stop losses pull, right? So they utilize that. They know, okay, since stop losses are here, if we can push price up here, these shorts will turn into longs, helping us fill our bags for the short. So it's just a little help. But yeah, in the context of what you're saying, is if there's no or not a whole lot of new shorts here, who's really feeling the pain up here, right? So that's where those higher time frame SFPs are much better than those lower time frame SFPs. But just as you see here, the lower time frame ones can work too. You just have to have your expectations on point. And then most of all, even more important, what happens right here is just one part of the scenario. The follow through after the battle is even more meaningful. Because what if you have someone right here just dump in some shorts? You see open interest climb, you see net shorts climb, pressing these people, more people getting stopped out here. So the follow through is just as important as the battle. Sometimes it's even more important, right? Because the follow through tells you when this is about to happen. And then you see a bull flag breaks up, and you wonder why your short didn't work out. I see this all the time. And I'm laughing because this shit happened to me all the time. So I know the pain. I get it. Um, but yeah, you can see here in this candle right here. Net longs came in, no more shorts came in. Not a whole lot, anyways. And again, just understand that the net longs and net shorts aren't extremely accurate representations. I went over why in the course. You can read about it in Market Monkey documentation or even ExoCharts documentation. This is not direct information or data from your exchanges. Now, however, if you change this to Hyperliquid and you use all their Hyperliquid data, that is actual MBO data or market by order. So that will be accurate on these. But as far as all the other exchanges and aggregation, unfortunately, it's just not as accurate. That's why the old school way of reading price with CVD alongside open interest, that's the most accurate way to see that.
I have a question on
Mhm.
NPOCs.
Oh, yeah.
So when you lose an NPOC, do you take it off the chart straight away, or is it still a level of interest in case we reclaim that level later on?
Yeah. Um, yeah to both. So it depends on the level, right? So for example, let's go here. And we're just hitting an input NPOC here. And would I take this off the charts? Yes, I would. But you also have to look at it through the lens of the higher time frames as well, as with everything, right? So if you see here, this one has gotten hit on our session volume profile, at least on Bybit USDT, sorry, Binance USDT. Other exchanges might show it differently. But you can see how this previous point of control, even though it's not naked, still got hit, right? But then let's come up to the weekly. Well, on the weekly, it was pretty much the value area low or your previous week value area low that was doing the job here. And on the monthly, it's just your current month point of control. So I use them all as context. Usually on my chart here, if something like that does get hit, I do take it off. But just remember that I have my TPO daily, weekly, and monthly on a separate screen that is always up. They never get turned off. I'm always looking at these on another screen. So I have my context through all these different sessions, the volume profiles, always up on my screen. So I know that, I don't have to flip back and forth to find my information. So just because I'm saying, hey, I do take these off of when I mark them up on my main chart, TradingView, I still see them on these other charts on my other screen too. So how you want to do that might be a little different, because if you don't have these on a separate screen all the time, or maybe you have a split screen, or maybe you have just another open tab where you have like 4 split screens to show your different sessions, you can set it up any way you want, right? I'm just giving you other examples of what I do if you don't have multiple screens. But yeah, if you're not looking at those steadily, then you might want to keep that on your chart, or at least delete the naked point of control so you understand that it's not naked anymore. But you might want to put a level here that you're at your current monthly point of control, or maybe just mark out a level that you also have your weekly value area lows stacked right here in this zone as well.
Can I ask the same question in a slightly different context, please?
Absolutely. Nice to hear your voice again, sir.
That'll do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks for the presentation and that as well. Sorry, I'm popping in when I can.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking of 2 main reasons I look at an area of interest. I know they're not the only ones, but two in particular I've got in mind. With the same view to whether you continue to see them as relevant after they've been visited. So the 2 reasons I'm thinking are, one, that it's what Gareth Soloway called the scene of the crime, i.e., it's an area that really sent price, and it hasn't been revisited since. So a major move came from whatever the spot is, where you usually have an order block. That generally matches SMC concepts a lot, and doesn't always necessarily have the highest volume concentration. It might often actually be a low volume node or area. And the other reason would be that it's either the lowest or the highest volume, the most interest, or somewhere that price actually got sent straight through without any activity.
Yeah, like inefficiency or low volume node.
Yeah. So how would you approach either of those cases when they get revisited? Would you continue to see, I'm guessing maybe the one with the highest volume might still be of interest because it's a place you expect price to hang out as a balanced area?
Yeah. So basically, let me try to simplify that question and make sure I understand it before I answer it. You're trying to understand how you revisit low volume nodes versus high volume nodes. Is that correct?
Yeah, and also comparing it to areas where price has really launched from as another sort of reason to be looking at it. And where, I guess, how long you consider them to stay relevant when they get visited again.
What to stay relevant exactly?
The level, whether it's still a significant level to the point where you'd keep it marked or just erase whatever marking you had to signify it.
So let's go over that. There's a lot to unpack there. So let's go
Sorry.
over here. No. Absolutely. It's a great question. And so it kind of gets into the ideas of, how are you playing high volume nodes, low volume nodes, etc. Right.
Hmm.
And then what kind of levels do I keep on my charts of, great significance?
I'm struggling for the word for what I call it a launch pad.
Mm-hmm.
When you go back to a spot where price really got sent from, and what I called the scene of the crime before.
Yeah. I like to be a little more precise than that. Because depending on the time frame, what are you calling the scene of the crime, right? But let me try to answer your question first. And if I don't answer it, still you can ask maybe in a different way. But
Yeah.
as you can tell, we're using our weekly profiles here, right? And you can do this with a fixed volume profile. You can do this with TPO and intraday, etc. So how I look at high volume nodes is going to be sticking points. And you can see this as you look on the chart, price actually sticks around there for a little bit, right? So, and you're going to have different time frames, daily, weekly, monthly, and then you have your fixed ranges, which can be on any time frame. So it's all fractal. I personally like the naked points of control. That would be my main level. But high volume nodes versus low volume nodes. I think a lot of people get this mixed up because I see a lot of people say, oh, you should be trading low volume nodes versus high volume nodes. Some people say high volume nodes. Well, I don't really look at it like that. I look at it as a guide for expectation, right? So my expectation is if we come back to this area, you're going to see a little bit of chop. And even though this had not so much chop here, if you're down on the intraday time frame, like 5 minute, 1 minute, that was chop. So I don't use these alone. So that's number one. I use them as confluence with other significant levels, like my order blocks and like the naked points of control, naked VWAPs, your daily, weekly, and monthly levels. And of course, liquidity at your external swings. So if you're coming back up here, I know if I'm wanting to enter into this order block that I've got to wait a little bit. It's usually, not all the time. Nothing is all the time in trading. So sure, could you get that in 1-2 minutes? Yes, you can, especially if you have some reason for extra volatility like news or someone tweets some shit, right? But normally, I'm talking about common trading. If we come back into this, I know that if I get a touchdown or one tap into this, that's usually not going to be the move. And if you take that aggressively and put your stop loss right at the internal high here that you just put in, get ready for getting knocked out of the trade, right? Because if you're coming into a higher time frame order block or higher time frame high volume node, tap one is usually not the trade. So I'm going to leave that there. I don't want to go too deep into that because I can go an hour talking about that, which I've talked about that plenty of times before with just using order blocks, right? So low volume nodes. Look at what happens in low volume nodes. Whoops, wrong button. Get a wick, get a wick, get a wick, pass through, pass through, pass through. So the low volume nodes are where you can expect wicks through and reclaim into your high volume node. So this is the area for SFPs or for what I just call waterfalls, where you fulfill and go to the next high volume node. Same thing. Run through this area, come back in to the next high volume node. So I look at it as a same way you see low liquidity areas right through here. If someone doesn't come in and step in there, now this is live time instead of historic. So if someone doesn't come in and step in here, you're going to fall right through. Same thing with your volume profile. So that's how I view the high volume nodes and low volume nodes, how I use them, how I set those up for expectations. But you also have to be aware of it fractally, because where you could be hitting a value area low on one profile could be a point of control on another, or it could just be a higher volume node on the monthly. And this is a weekly. So the scene of the crime scenario, I would expect, and I don't know what Gareth is talking about.
I'd reframe that as mitigation, I guess. What
Yeah,
would be your conditions to call something mitigated?
I wouldn't. Because you
Right.
can steadily revisit those areas on and on and on and on again, even previous areas, right? So that's,
So what would you say about RIMC in that context then?
I don't really use RIMC very much, because RIMC is implying
Yeah.
that I'm using a lot of market structure and basing it only on market structure.
Yeah, that's
And
exactly what I'm hearing.
and
So
just like,
you would want more information about sitting liquidity and stuff like that, wouldn't you?
yeah, I mean, it depends on the time frame. If it's a higher time frame, I wouldn't mind RIMC so much. But look at this. I went over this earlier. Put in a range, tap one, tap two. Everybody who's playing RIMC was probably looking at this as your tap three, and you wanted to go up from there. But we swept the lows instead. So RIMC is not a strategy for me. Why? Because it's not giving me enough data. It's blind. It's just saying, hey, every range we have, we pump from it, we come back, and we're supposed to bounce from it. That's just too much of an assumption for me. This is why I use order flow, because you're getting away from that. Just like I was explaining this entry up here. Sure, you can get in very aggressively up here, but I was saying wait till you have a bigger break showing us a much more significant control flip, and wait for that back test. Sometimes you have to be patient. So in the context of this here, I would not just blindly long because of RIMC. I would want to see control actually flip when I get to that zone. And it better be something more than RIMC for me. I better have a golden pocket here, a naked point of control, an order block. I want to see some stack confluence. Never would I just use RIMC just by itself, And I'm not saying that you are. I'm just, telling you how I do things.
No,
But if,
this is a perfect response because I'm looking for this exact comparison pretty much.
yeah. So, I mean, if we were looking here, we see that nice rejection right here. We get the idea that, hey, maybe this is tap three of tap one and tap two, right? Signs of accumulation. Cool. But look what happened when they tried to take control. That's not taking control. And this is a 5 minute, this is a low time frame. So it didn't take much time for you to even see that, right? Let's go down to the 1 minute. And you get some structure, you break structure, and that's what everyone wants to see for long. But what do we see here?
you've just got about 300 of my failed trades right here.
Right. So and note, now this is big context for me, and this is why I think session and timing is so important. What time is this right here? This is New York Open time. So you really got to be careful, right? So with that time in mind, you got to be ready for fake outs, shakeouts, liquidity sweeps, you know? And you were already so close to sweeping these lows, coming back into the point of control in my magical Tory Trades trend line. Don't know nothing about that. But what I'm saying is, you don't, even if you're using structure. So it's no different than what I'm doing on Bookmap with microstructure, but I'm using Bookmap not just with microstructure. I'm using it with delta, accumulating delta from CVD. I'm using it with, the tape over here too. So once we come into an area, I want to see, like if I'm looking for long, I want to see stuff like this. A bright highlight of blue mega buy. And this is individual orders, right? So if I see the tape light up, go really fast, like this is poor action right here. This is stuck. This is frozen. But if you've stared at this long enough, stare at it for one day. You'll get what I'm saying. You'll see this light up and run so fast that you can't even see the numbers. That's what you want to see when you get right here if you're in an actual break and retest here. But you got to be ready for the same signs that you're looking for to get in. What if those signs appear opposing you? So you can do the same thing with market structure. You're just doing it with being half blind because you don't see delta, you don't see the tape, you don't see the bubbles, you don't see any delta flips, you don't see delta percentage that I'm using over here. All these tools here. And even they're really nicely color shaded, Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
All that subjective stuff.
Right. All the subjective stuff that doesn't even have anything to do with volume and orders.
Yeah. Right. So just taking stock of this approach, like I'm guessing something you wouldn't be doing, which is tends to come with the whole RIMC approach and strategy, is a tendency to, once an order block, for example, has been tapped once, it gets called mitigated and forgotten about without looking at any further details, like sitting liquidity or whatever. You wouldn't be doing that.
Highly contextual. So for me, the only way I'm taking an order block off the chart is if it's completely ran through, or if we have a new order block. So say, for example, this right here. This one's already been tapped into 3 times, but we already have a new one right here. So I would go ahead and say that one's done. I would rather take the new fresh order block than keep the old one up. Now this one here, no order block was created right here that I can use. So I'm keeping these on. And yeah, maybe you can take that one off, but I'm still keeping the bigger time frame one on, which I think is the 2 hour.
Yeah, it's like a new sandcastle getting built where there was one previously.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I like that metaphor. But look. So in a 2 hour order block, do you expect to come in here and just go straight down? Maybe if we had some news at the moment, sure, cool. But normally, maybe we tap 1, tap 2, tap 3, and then we go down. See a nice redistribution into this. Or maybe this is tap 1, come up, tap 2, then a tap 3, right? I don't know. I can't predict any of that. No one can. We're not trying to play a predictive game. We're trying to wait for the signs to be put in. And then, like, say right here, on like the back half of this, that's where you say, okay, what is this part looking like? I do this every day in the Discord. I do this on the lives. And I talked a lot about it the past couple lives of like just drawing your chart, what you think could happen here, especially if it's a higher time frame order block and you're playing tap 1 of an order of a distribution. just be ready for that to come back up again. So this is a scalp. This is a potential scalp, maybe with a runner. This is your more conservative entry that can really fulfill that distribution as long as you don't do this. Or if it does do this, that's the end of the trade. Go on to the next one, right? So I hate to say this because I want to say that it should be common sense, but I get it. Like I was at a point in my journey where that wasn't common sense. And that shit confused the hell out of me. I didn't understand why I was all, okay, my level got hit. I took the short. But boom, why am I always getting taken out? Or you have a high, you SFP, get into that short, come back, SFP again. Then it goes down. So that's when you wait for control to show you that it's truly flipping. And all the while, you're looking for the opposing entry models. I don't know. I don't even remember what your question was again. I'm sorry. I went on another
It
tangent.
was just about level. No, you've answered it fully.
Oh yeah, the
fully.
mitigation.
It was just
thing.
about level.
Right.
Yeah. When is a level mitigated and forgotten?
Yeah. So I guess it just depends on the level. An order block already showed you that. Naked point of control. If that thing gets hit, it's not naked anymore. I'll take that off, but I'll still be looking at my sessions on another screen. So I'm still very aware if something else is there. Like maybe it's a daily naked point of control, but again, it's the current monthly point of control. Something like that. Doesn't always happen like that, of course, but sometimes it does. So I'm just very aware of all the session volume profiles and the levels that I like to use, which is mainly points of control, value area highs, and value area lows, and especially the previous naked day value areas, right? So if we turn all this crap off,
Basically, all these formulaic strategies look very different as soon as you start keeping tabs continuously on the sitting liquidity in the order book.
yeah, they very much can, because you have a little bit more power, more data. You have the X-ray machine showing you what really matters. Like, how did this wick put in, right? Was it, was it a value area high that sold right here? No, it's real people. It's real people selling here. Has nothing to do with this line. The line is just a location and a key level, meaning that a lot of people may be interested in selling when prices oversold area, right? So you don't want to buy right at fair value or sell right at fair value. You want to sell high. I mean, it kind of sounds stupid. Buy low, right? I mean, but I mean, it sounds stupid. It's kind of like common sense kind of thing. It's like, well, it can't be that simple. Yeah, kind of can be, actually.
Yeah,
And if you just,
common sense has taken a bit of a battering, hasn't it?
right. And again, just back test and see things for yourself. That's always the best way to gain confidence, gain practice, gain pattern recognition. So as you opened here, and this time, right? What did you come and back test? Price tried to regain yesterday's value as soon as today's value area opened up. Rejected. Went down. So that's just simple, right? You can see a 30-minute order block right here. Yes, it is the same color order block. I get that. I get that reaction every time I talk about same color order blocks. That's why I say that every time. Yes, I do use them some of the times if they line up with other areas of interest, especially if they have preferably some nice displacement away from it. But this could have easily come back up to that naked point of control and then came down too. That's also an option. So in this case, for example, When price opened up here, I'd be looking at this and this for my next two shorts. And then when you get to the level, you take the order flow course and use everything in that course to get into that trade.
When you say displacement, do you mean acceleration away from the area?
So all these candles that leave inefficiencies behind, that's displacement.
Right. Yeah, that would be what I was calling launchpad then.
So, okay, I got you. So, in other words, another great thing you want to see in these candles, for me, order flow, is stacked imbalances. You can see that here with these blue outlines. So that's just telling you how much. And I have this set to a filter that is a 3-to-1 ratio. So it's now what this is telling you is that the buyers are outweighing the sellers by 3x, showing you a very nice imbalance. Or did I have that set to 4? I don't remember. It's either set to 3 or 4, one of the two. So now we actually have somebody out to play here. Okay. So I would definitely look at this for the next continuation long. If this holds, got to watch the battle go down. And if we get down there soon, we can watch that together. Which I assume
You talking
we
about
will.
that 2000 order?
Yes, sir. Yeah. 63,000. And they pulled.
Yep, it's gone.
Let's see if they come back. Let's see if they come back.
They're not coming back.
Yeah. Maybe they're getting scared. Oh, I got to work on that indicator. It's constantly running. Yeah, sometimes
Red's got those on.
Huh?
Cool.
Red?
That's all right, I'm just being silly. I was going to say Red's got them on CCTV.
Yeah, sometimes these guys come back at the last second, so we'll just have to see when it comes down to that area. Oh, it looks like someone heavy on the sell side all of a sudden. Okay, so you get selling imbalances into this area. Yes, they're not there, but sometimes you can see icebergs in the same area where they showed their hand at first. Oh, go back here. So sometimes you'll see price come down to the same area. It doesn't look like anyone's there, but then all of a sudden it starts to flip. Doesn't always happen, but I do see it happen. And sometimes these guys are just bait too to get heavy selling. Heavy buying into this area. So there's a nice first push down. Let's see if they reclaim this level or back test it. Just looking at CBD, a little zoomed out there. And we'll take a look back over here. Yeah, I'd like to come back down to this a little bit further into demand here. To be honest with you, I really don't want it to flip here, because I'd really rather the higher time frame trend play out. To me, this is just to try to reclaim VWAP, and that's a big failure. We saw that divergence here from here on those swing points that I was talking about back here on MMT. You had your CVD divergence. You had your aggressive trend line here, less aggressive trend line here. You can see it a lot easier in Bookmap. I drew right there. Again, that was your back test, right? So again, if you don't want to take the aggressive entries way up here, you do not have to. And we're going to go over how to do each and every single strategy in my playbook in the next course in the blueprint. But we're going to go over how to do all this in the execution section with just very, very concentrated into execution subject. So you're going to understand how to enter these when you get done with this module. So you'll be able to enter in here, you'll be able to enter in here, and you'll be able to enter in here, or just choose one of them, depending on what you're comfortable with. And I recommend to practice them all. So you can find your own way, right? Or you do what I do. Sometimes the setup is super clear on an aggressive entry, and you can take that. And then if you get very aggressive, well, stop loss doesn't have to be very far. So what does that allow you to do? What kind of opportunity does that give you, right? So if you get a really nice entry aggressively, you can have your stop loss at the high, and as soon as it moves away, you can create a free trade. Yeah, I'm now, to be honest with you, sometimes you can even do that on the conservative setup as well. And those of you who have an SMC understanding, you already know sometimes that retest order block is a smaller order block than your main order block up here where the initial reversal started, right? So sometimes you get those clear aggressive setups, really tight stop loss. Sometimes they're too big. Sometimes the more conservative setup, you can still get an aggressive entry here and have a much smaller stop loss. Or you can be, conservative and still put it at the top. Either way, there's many, many different ways to play it. And like I was talking about here, this is exactly what I look for. When you see the signs ahead of time, they still try to end up saving that. Still don't have a whole lot of hope for it just yet, to be honest with you, because there's no real delta flip here. Very weak anyways. But it is an area where you do kind of want to see if these guys end up popping their head back up real quickly. And sometimes you only see it flash real quick. They stop price and then they go away. But yeah, so far this just kind of looks like a micro redistribution to go further down. But yeah, this back test of the more conservative trend line of the two was a very nice short. And could keep on coming down. We did tap into that 15-minute or the order block there. Anybody in a trade? Anybody flip short? Oh, yeah, you got the right idea there. DB. Keep on coming down. Okay. Well, that 2-minute order block with that little tiny order block did give us that nice short. Even had that retest right here that we were looking at on Bookmap. That's where that trend line was here. Come on. There we go. Nope. Stop that. Yeah, kind of chopped around VWAP for a moment there. Tried to put in that micro accumulation but nobody behind the move. So let's see what's going on here now. Yeah, I'd like to see it run down. Let's take a look at positioning really quick. Ouch. Yeah, so we see the longs starting to come out here all throughout this range here. So that's what's really kind of fueling this move, just as we were talking about earlier. And as Red made that really good point here. So we're getting into where the longs started opening up here, right? This was the last candle where you had a lot of longs open up right here. So they could have had their stop losses down here, 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 and trailing up. So even this candle here took out some of those longs right here, 120 contracts. And again, these aren't extremely accurate. Just want to make sure everyone understands that. So it's not going to always equal to the exact number or anything like that. Just relative data. So we are coming into this little order, and yeah, this is the same color order block, but the reason I like this for a potential zone that they would guard is because that's where this big displacement happened, or the big imbalance. So whoever put in the longs here were really pressing here. You start to see some larger longs, 24 Bitcoin, 21 Bitcoin, 10 Bitcoin. I really like how they can scroll through the tape now. Much, much, much nicer than it used to be. So we are coming down to that order block that I was talking about here. That first zone. Oh, that was New York Open, Golden Pocket. Very nice area. Make this gray. So if I was short from here or here, this is a TP zone for me. At least start to take some profit. Come back here, continue down. Then maybe we put in that stronger accumulation here. Then if you walk it up, your time frames, right? Maybe this wasn't tap one. Maybe this is tap one, tap two, and then now we're going to put in a tap three here. So this often happens where people start to think, oh, tap one, tap two, and get this mini model here, all to form a much, much bigger model. When you start to zoom out, and it goes back to exactly what I talked about at the beginning of the stream. So you have this accumulation model that took 1 day here. Not saying it's got to be perfect and the same at all. I don't do the whole fractal price action stuff. So yeah, this could absolutely take its time. So let's zoom out a little bit. I want to see where the bottom of that channel is. Okay. So we've already hit that area once. Wouldn't mind coming down to that area one more time. Right back at monthly VWAP, trend line or bottom line of that channel. And it's also the 786 of your local fib pull here. So I do like that. But this could also be a nice bouncing zone. So this is where I would actually
Question
look.
on
Yeah, go ahead.
Bookmap.
Right.
Sometimes I'll see a bullish bubble, but a bearish volume bar. Why is that?
I would take a look to see if, and let me show you. And it could already be set up like this. I do not know. But if you go to like your bars, you can inherit from the dots. So it'll pull the same information that you have on your dots into your bars instead of having these two separate data points, which, you know, your could have different clustering. You know, it's, you just have to make sure that those are aligned for it to show the exact same information. Otherwise, I don't
Yeah, I
know.
have that,
Yeah.
but I still get the opposite colors sometimes.
I mean, it depends on the aggregation, like how zoomed in, zoomed out you are. So, for example,
Mhm.
if you're looking at this here and you see a mega bubble, it's spanning several bars here, right? So that's when,
Mm.
oh, I want to take a look a little bit closer to separate all that action out. And then we can kind of see the truth here. So we get that big bar with the big bubble, and then you start to flip here. And then back to purple, and so on and so on. So yeah, I don't necessarily know that I would, you know, if you're zoomed out, it's going to be more aggregated. So it's going to be less
Okay.
accurate to the point, like to the second, right? But if you go in
Mhm.
here and, you know, you really start to zoom in and you see all these separate orders, yeah, at that point, I would like to see everything line up. You know, the blue bubble should match with the blue here. The purple bubble should match with the purple here, so on and so on. Right. So the aggregation on Bookmap um, takes a little getting used to. Especially, you know, when we get into like seeing trap traders. So you can really, really zoom out like this and you can see this low very differently than seeing it like that. Ultimately still kind of telling you the same information, right? But just no different than just a more zoomed in resolution. So you're starting to break apart those balls. And you can do it vertical and horizontally. So the more zoomed in, the more singled, isolated events that you get. And of course, the more zoomed out, the more aggregated it gets. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I would take a look at that point where you see that bubble and spread it apart and see if it makes sense. If it's still doing that, let me know, and I can
Yeah, I
take a
think it
look at it on
is.
my chart.
I think it is just the zoom I was looking at.
Okay. Yeah, man. The it's kind of like the zoom out or resolution. It's no different than looking at different time frames, right? So
Mm.
again, this is not run off of time frames. It's non-time chart because it's based on the DOM, you know, the depth of market, so real orders in real time. But it tries to kind of replicate. If you zoom out, it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to a higher time frame. If I zoom in, that's like going into a lower time frame. So that's kind of how I frame it, you know. Um,
Mhm.
and then if you're like really paying attention to the price line itself, you have to understand that that is like seconds. Like you're looking at a 1 second price line here. And you can just compare it. Like go to a 1 second chart, 5 second, 30 second chart on TradingView and try to match the price line to your chart. So that way you can get really familiar with your zoom in, zoom out functioning and kind of, you know, being able to see the equivalent on a real candlestick chart. All right, so let's take a look at this here. This was looking nice. Nothing too crazy as far as like a CVD divergence here, anything like that. You did have a nice trend line break here, which also had your delta flip right there. A very clean sign of heavy selling into your level. And then did they continue or did they fail? Right? So it's just a simple question. And what happened after that battle, or what happened after that failure? And yeah, the blue line here is the point of control for the SVP, by the way, if you're wondering what that level is. And again, you can use the level all the same. You pass through a level, but if it can't continue and get acceptance beyond the level, meaning building out volume, building out time, displacing away from the level, and you come back into that level, it's no different than seeing a market structure break for me or a trend line break or anything like that. It's meaning it's just the classic sign of rejection. And yeah, you can get real zoomed in on, Bookmap. And you can even use some of these micro lines here. Or you can zoom out and wait for a bigger line to break, right? So it's all about what you're comfortable with. Sometimes, maybe the bigger trend line actually lined up closer down here, right? So you don't know until the move actually starts to take place and then you see it. So sometimes higher time frame triggers, uh, come on the chart versus lower time frame triggers, or sometimes they align together, which is also really, really nice. And sometimes they're really, really far apart. Those very large wiki type moves and poor structure coming into that level. And that's where it all comes into play, where you have to really take what's in the order flow course and learning the before, during the battle, at your key level, and then after that key level. That's 3 parts to every single trade, or trade entry rather. And we did end up reclaiming that liquidity level here. And I don't have a very good explanation for this. I just see it happen a lot for some strange reason. And I'm not sure if these guys decided, okay, we're going to put a big level here. And then they're like, okay, maybe it's going to get further down and we're going to save some iceberg orders. And they just slowly enter small size throughout here. Kind of see a little bit of a flash here. 947. But I just see this happen quite a bit for some reason. But yeah, I don't have the best explanation of how that works, to be honest with you. I just always watched it as a order flow pattern that I see come up over and over and over again. When you see a big level like this, they trade through it a little bit, but somehow it always comes back over that level, and then the trade gets put in. So let's come back here really quick. Okay, yeah. So we are coming back into our daily view up here. And always what I like to see. Our nice confluence factor. We do have the point of control right here, though. Go up just a little bit more. I want to see if we have a larger block. Yeah, I'd probably take the high of that right there, so I can cover this high volume node as well. And yeah, I do kind of cheat my order blocks sometimes based on volume. I don't just always play things by the book. And even something more clean that I see I would maybe just include this order block here that actually left this displacement behind, and you tried to come back into that but didn't. So I'm kind of looking at that right now. And if this is not going to continue higher, what overlaps with that point of control, and why I took the non-traditional route of creating my own order block here. That's why. And how do I know this? Is because I see it over and over and over again. And it does you no harm by just creating a bigger block, right? Could go up there. Doesn't have to, though. But no, you're just trying to see, okay, if it does come up here, do we get the reaction there? And it just allows me to understand where I may want to put my stop loss. Based on volume here, kind of see a little chunk there. So I might just go right outside of that. Oops. Maybe target back to the point of control. But I wouldn't want to see this take a lot of time here. I would like to see this as a 15-minute candle look like this. Close back under VWAP. Otherwise, if we start closing here, come back down and back test VWAP again, and then it might start to look like this weird reaccumulation, right? So you have the break and the BART trade. Break and retest. And that's your accumulation at your retest zone. Yeah, it does look very extended on the main tap in, but sometimes it's ugly. Or maybe it's good looking to you. So let's go over here and take a look. Yeah, now it's pressing pretty strong. I mean, that's stacked imbalances here. Take a look at Market Monkey. And yeah, you see the stacked imbalances, right? So that's Bookmap's way of showing you stacked imbalances. Same thing you see on Market Monkey. So it doesn't matter what platform you like to use, tons of overlap. All showing you the same thing, right? So it's all the same information, just different visual representations of it. And everyone that knows the course knows what this looks like on Delta. Right now, we are getting that first signs of Delta diverging, but this candle's not closed yet. So we come back, revisit, stack the balances, open new candle, come right back up. We did hit our level, which is very, very nice. So for this short, I'd like to see it lose VWAP again, if we can get some signs for a short. Let's take a look at Bookmap here. Okay, starting to show some signs of a half-assed distribution here. You're getting Delta die off, and there it goes. You had a very, very clear trend line here, moving all the way up. And I also see another one. So don't hate on Tori Trades, people. Don't hate on Tori Trades. She knows. She knows what's up. Quick, fast rejection. Not what you want to see. See how the next candle opens up, though. Really want to see this 5-minute close below VWAP. And again, like if you don't get, I know I've talked about this many times, but if you do not get, like say, for example, on this particular one, on a 1 minute. If you start to get choppiness around VWAP, that's not a clear reclaim or acceptance or rejection. And I say this over and over again. I hate taking trades around VWAP and the current point of control unless we've spent a lot of time away from it and we get that clear tap on VWAP and a clear displacement away. Has to be clean, has to be very clear, no doubts. Like right here, you put in a nice distribution right at VWAP. I want something like that here. But it looks like it's already trying to reclaim, right? So this is chop to me. When you come below it, can't hold it. Come above it, can't hold it. So it's just choppy. So I wait. I wait for something to tell me something's actually being put in here that's, worth taking some risk on. Do have a little tiny 1 minute order block. Don't care to do the whole 1 minute order block thing on Bitcoin. Not my style. I would rather wait for something else. Even if it does work, don't care. Not a clean, clear setup for me. It's not high probability. I just pass and wait for my high probability, clean, clear, no doubt type of entries, setups. There's no reason to just force something. I've been there. I've done that. I have gotten my ass reamed plenty of times doing that. So over time, the pain teaches you, right? There's no better teacher than pain in life. You just got to listen to it. Got to listen to it. So let's take a look at our micro. So on the micro front here, we came to that trend line. We are putting in that sign of distribution now. This is why that first breakdown didn't really go anywhere. We're trying to fulfill a bigger distribution. And that's kind of like the half-ass pattern that I was talking about when you were right there. Sure, you had maybe a tap 1, tap 2, but where's tap 3? So sometimes if you want to be more conservative, you just got to wait. Or if you get in this tap 2 and you did get in this break, maybe you entered in right here, had your stop here. Maybe you want to start trailing it down, or maybe you keep it there and just trust that this distribution will start to play out. But again, you got to watch for that reaccumulation to give you the signal. Hey, okay, that's probably not going to work anymore. So you just got to realize what time frame signals are you actually dealing with, right? What kind of time frame signals are you trusting? And really, like, where are you in the move? Are you counter trend trading? Are you trading with the trend? Do we just reclaim something? There's a lot of different contextual tools that we can use. So we're getting that another rejection here. Could still be a short here, but I don't like it because VWAP's right here. And it's got to, you got to put in some work to either reclaim it or lose it. So let's zoom back out. Time to zoom out. And I'm going to take all of this off the chart, clean things up a bit. Leave that one on though, because I want to take a look, see if we're starting to do an accumulation versus a distribution on a higher time frame here. Let's go down to 15. So just like I think I said this yesterday, I posted something in the chat where I hate these types of situations where it's like, okay, could be getting an accumulation, but you got to watch out for that distribution here. Come up and do that kind of thing and just take out that accumulation. These are those types of moves where, it starts to get unclear and you have like opposing ideas, opposing signals, and sometimes, especially right on VWAP, What do I do? Hopefully someone in the chat knows what I would do next. That's what I'd be waiting for. If something is not clear inside our local range, I just wait. I don't want to put the risk on it. I wait for this to get swept or this to get swept. Or displacement, look for a BART trade here. And hopefully ride that wave. So when I'm unsure, I like to zoom out and then go back to the most simplest thing. Any questions? Anybody? Anybody go? We do have questions. Okay, sorry. What are your settings for the imbalances? Man, that's a good question. I thought they were 3, but I think I might have changed that to 4. Let's take a look. And I'm still working on this footprint. Man, they've done some updates to the footprint in the last 2 days. The text does look better zooming in, as you can tell, right? However, the shading within the cells are not as good as they used to be. And then they, of course, they have some other settings in here, which I'm kind of trying to still decide on how I want that set up. We did have a nice 47 Bitcoin order here on the buy side. Just wanted to point that out as it's flickering in my hub. No. With that, go to standard. It did bring out the side clusters, which I used to use this on exo charts, this style, which I do like that. But back to your question. And you do have links to my templates, by the way. I put 3 different style templates in the template section in the Discord. But the imbalance ratio is 3. And for these stacked imbalances, it's 3. And the threshold is 25. So that's how I have my settings on the stacked imbalances. But what I was looking at is when we turn the profile back on, because I was using the Delta profiles, right? If you were using any of my templates from V4, but the Delta profiles just don't look as good now as they used to. I'm really not sure why. Transparency's all up. Let's go back to Delta. Then let's change the cluster to profile. And I wouldn't mind using something like this, but I really don't, and this is just an aesthetic pet peeve here. I don't like how they still have these all the way across. I would like it to like have a different padding. And I do like this setup because you can start to see those stacked imbalances on one side or the other. So I'm still kind of messing around with this. But again, like you probably can't even see this on stream, like the Delta profile here. I'm not sure why that's like that. And the auto tick is not on auto, even though it's on auto, it's not working. Like usually when you spread it apart, you would get lower ticks. Is anybody else experiencing that, by the way, or is this just me? Yeah. So yeah, you have all my templates in there, so you can take a look at those for anything as far as settings wise. But yeah, I mean, if you have any questions, I don't mind going over it. But does anybody else have this issue with the volume, the Delta profile on the clusters? Can y'all like, is it more prominent? Can you see it better than this? Like this view's a little bit better. Then if we have our clusters on, you have the profile on the side of the cluster. It used to be a bit brighter. Anyways, all that's personal preference though. As long as you can see the shading, you're good. Okay, let's go back to that area again. So we're getting that second rejection here, putting in another micro distribution. Quite the battle here.
I'd be interested in your take on Ada if you fancy a look.
Sure, absolutely.
It's right on its ass in an interesting place.
Yeah, let's take a look
On
at
Binance,
that. Binance? Okay.
on Binance futures, because that's the only place you can see the historical data and the range that it's visiting. I'm looking at a potential 50% move up to about 24 or 24 to 27 cents. It's at 16 cents now.
All right. So USDT?
Yeah, USDTP on Binance. That's where you'll
There
find
it
the
is.
historical.
The swap contract. Oh, wow. I haven't looked at ADA in a while. I mean, a long while. And this is scary.
It's quite fun at the moment.
Wow. Come on, ADA.
Yep.
What happened? Okay.
My position on AD is that it's an absolute piece of shit, but that won't bother them if they've got friends. If they've got the right friends, I'm not sure
Right.
that matters. They don't mind pumping pieces of shit.
Go to the monthly here. Yeah, I mean, I do see this last little area of demand here. And that's a tiny monthly order block, basically at 10 cents, 10 to maybe 11. Wow, this is just super, super bearish here. To me, that's the line in the sand right now for it to flip. I wouldn't be interested in anything until we flip that. Like I would, like if you're trying to get the best price here, whatever, cool. That's great. But I would rather it like come down here, spend some time, put in accumulation, and then come up strong and then kind of be like that power of 3 play right there on a large time frame.
Well, I was kind of looking at where you've said you'd expect it to get above.
Yeah.
I'd be the same if I was looking to hold it. I'd be the same, but I was more thinking of that as a ceiling and expecting it to go up to get smashed at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's exactly where I would be looking as well. And you do have an order block here. It is the same color order block on the monthly. I would use that personally. So you can always, you can't always expect things to be super clean. Meaning that, hey, we're just going to come right back up to that line. I would actually like it, try to see it save itself for a bearish scenario, and then it can't hold it, no acceptance, and then further down if I wanted to short this, right? But nonetheless, this is on a monthly time frame. So if you come down to the daily here, that's where
That's
I'd
what I
want
was
to
on.
see. Mm-hmm.
I was on the daily wondering if you might catch a long up to 24 cents.
Yeah, so I mean, it does kind of look like an accumulation here. Looks like you're in a retest zone. You broke structure. Again, this is a daily time frame, so you're going to have, a 1 hour, 15-minute structure way down there. But I would kind of look for this to kind of walk up and then create that redistribution pattern. And then, of course, in the latter half or latter third of that redistribution pattern, I don't want to see that. And just kind of wait for your sign. Don't try to prematurely catch anything necessarily. But again, it all depends on what you're expecting, what kind of trade you're getting yourself into, scalp, intraday, spot, all that kind of thing. And if you're already long, that's where I would take profit, obviously. At least some. Then if you hop over this and start to reclaim these areas, especially this here, that was your last distribution sign. If you can flip this area, maybe you'll start to go up here. I would probably wait for a double break, meaning for me, that's like a double key level break, not just structure. So yeah. And I just see resistance, or of course you have your structure there as well. Then you have a little bit of resistance here, but man, right through here is where it starts to thin out a bit. So it just depends on what you're doing, how conservative you want to get on that. You know what? Let's go to Sol, because I think you asked me to look at Sol last time. I just want to. I want to see. Yeah, I want to see what happened.
It did while I was looking.
Oh, did it? Nice. Okay. I don't remember.
Yeah, pretty much. It's back in a potential long place for it, I think now.
I don't remember what chart that was on.
In fact, yeah, it's sweeping the low for a potential accumulation where it is now for a potential Model 1.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't seem to have it on here anymore. That's okay. Might have did it.
I've limited myself to looking at things that are on book now because I know that you'll be interested.
Damn, this distribution, man. That's mega distribution right there. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's been amazing since $8, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. I mean, that's some hell of price action, man. Yeah, I want to get back into trading some altcoins after I get done with the courses and everything. I do kind of miss playing some altcoins here and there. Because I usually like to, have some swing trades on altcoins kind of working in the background for me. So it's, nice to have like 3 or 4 swing trades going on while you're day trading and doing some scalps. Or if you, just want to build up some spot bags, etc. While we're going through this, I want to take a look at gold and silver too. Actually, I want to take a, okay, nice. Man, I think oil is just going to really have a nice pump up here. I was kind of looking at the same thing on oil as like a potential power 3 if we can start to get back into this area. Maybe one more drop. Take out the first premature longs and then go. Take a look at silver. Oh, wow. That short worked out really nice on silver. Didn't see that. Nice continuation short. Not too hard to get into. NQ had a nice setup on New York VWAP. Super choppy though. Oh well, I guess I wouldn't really call that nice then, huh? But you did have a move, which in all honesty, how I would have looked at this one here. And this happens so much on NQ. It's just that typical sweep zone. Sweep it, boom. Oh, let's go back over here to Bitcoin again. See, that's starting to look like it's trying to accumulate up a bit here. I was going to say that's really dying off fast, though. You got to maintain some bullish power here. This was a nice first attempt, but that's where that follow through really comes into play. But yeah, that's starting to look like a nice accumulation. That was your sign to be very wary if you were in a short here. Take some profit at least. Guard your trade. You can always get back in, right? Maybe even a better position. Smaller stop loss. So yeah, looks like it's going to take that now.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir. Hit me.
I just dropped a screenshot in the chat. I just wondered if you could talk through, see how we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 almost consecutive red bubbles on that push up.
Yeah.
So we're seeing sellers into sell walls with not much buying delta, yet price is still moving up. Is that just
I think you have your
longs
bubbles
getting out of their
backward.
position?
I'm just joking with you. So what that's telling me, again, you might have, okay, let me take a look. Okay, so you're in like 15-second time splices. So that's pretty damn zoomed in, right? Very zoomed in. But yeah, sometimes that will happen when you start to rise, but delta is, still negative. So what I would want to see, and again, you're already quite zoomed in here. So I would actually zoom out and zoom in to kind of get the idea of what's going on with a higher and lower resolution. And I can do that here. Although my rhythmic has been giving me hell, I need to guess reach out to my.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be on your
Yeah, it's got
bookmap
that
data
15-minute delay. Yeah, I know.
I just shared another screenshot with 5-minute time splices.
Okay, cool.
So you just see three
That's helpful. Thank you.
red bubbles rather than the smaller ones. But it was just such a fast move up and just seemingly on selling delta, which seems odd.
Yeah, and that can happen if you start taking out just over leveraged people, or it could just actually be people trying to short here and they're actually putting that, that power in aggressively, but someone keeps catching it passively. So why does it move up is because the passive players are in control. And that's usually what, stops a negative delta bubble from displacing away. But to be honest with you, I don't want to just say that without really kind of looking into it.
I think that might be right, actually. I'm just really zoomed in now, looking at the heat map.
Right.
And
So
yeah,
I think
someone's
that's
been
here.
jumping in and catching all of these.
Yeah, and unfortunately, let me make sure I'm in the right time here.
I'm gonna
So
have to
it's
run,
literally
guys.
like 3
Okay.
minutes ago.
Yeah. We'll check you later,
Thanks
man.
for the stream.
Good to hear you.
Cheers, dude. Take it easy, guys.
Yeah, have a good
See you,
weekend.
okay.
So that's like,
It was only like 3 minutes ago, so you might not have it yet.
yeah, I'm not gonna have it yet, unfortunately.
But yeah, it was, as you said, it was passive buyers jumping in.
Okay. Yeah, that's one thing you got to look out for. And I'm telling you, like NQ is just, since it's so thin,
It's
like
so
look
fast.
how, yeah, it's so fast, especially like this is so thin. Price could just rip through here so easily. You know, someone just put an order in right here for like 50, you would rip through most of this. Put it through put in 100, you're gonna rip through probably up here in a flash.
Mm.
You know, so if you have like 10 orders at each price level, someone puts in 100, it's gonna jump and clear the book for 10 levels of 10 contracts. You know, and look what's happening here. Let's see if this actually happens in real time. Actually, I'm sorry, this is not real time. I forget. My bad.
I won't spoil it for you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Usually I have my rhythmic
You're about to.
connection, but for some reason it won't work. I need to reach out to my broker. I've never had any issues with connecting rhythmic, other than, you know, like your little data blips in here and there, but actually connecting, I've never had any issues. So
Yeah.
something happened. And I did get like, you know, when your credit card expires and you get a new credit card, I did have that happen recently, and I don't remember if that was on the same credit card or not. So I gotta go in there and do some investigating. But I'm assuming that might be what has happened. So
It's a hell of a move.
yeah, I wish I could see it. Let's go over here, I guess. Oh wow, damn, that's nice. That is a nice move there. Oh yeah, came down. Put that tiny little bull flag reaccumulation here. You have to go way down. This is going to be like micro. But here you can kind of see, let's go to even 5 seconds. So y'all can see like how clean 5-second structure even is on NQ. And this is the difference between NQ and stuff like Bitcoin. Now, I'm not saying go here and trade 5-second structure, but I'm saying this is what you're seeing on Bookmap. So you can see that accumulation at your level, right? Whoa. Love it. And that's what happens when you have zero liquidity. You get massive
It's
moves
crazy.
like that. But beautiful, yeah. I mean, this was a great long, great short as well. You see that nice clear retest of that trend line. Boom. And how many ticks was that? Let's just take it from there to here. 222 ticks and 5-second candle. 5-second candle. And you're trying to break back below previous week low. Like for a nice back test here for a short.
So many longs just got trapped on that massive wick.
Yeah.
Massive candle.
But yeah, that just goes to show you like how these big assets with tons of money going through them and the way they move, because its liquidity structure is so different. And even the time frames, you can go down here even on the 1 second and you can see solid structure here. You know, if you do that on Bitcoin, it's going to be awful. Like, look at that. You're not going to be able to do anything with that, right? So very, very different style of assets. But yeah, no, I mean, NQ can be your best friend or your worst nightmare, man. It can be dangerous as hell. I can't wait until this pops up here on my Bookmap.
Yeah, it's built into it.
Yeah.
I might just turn NQ off for the first 2 hours of NY, to be honest, because it's just so crazy. I think I'm losing more than I'm winning during the first hour
Yeah,
or
I
two.
mean, you got to get comfortable with it, you know. There's a lot of future traders that love NQ, and there's tons of people advertising, you know, oh, make easy money the first 5, 15 minute, 30-minute of New York Open on NQ or ES. And a lot of future traders like to trade the orb. We can go look at that here in just a minute as well, but I really kind of want to see this in action. Probably going to take a few more minutes though. You can see right here starting to put in that little distribution here. So if you start to break this trend line here, and look at your liquidity right here. You don't have anything to catch it until like really here 24, but really that 107 is the highest buy wall we see right here on the order book currently. Of course, that can always change in a flash of a second.
Well, yeah, you're about to get to that.
Nice. I was about to ask you what time did that happen, so I'm not just sitting here waiting.
About
right now.
like half behind you.
So yeah, you're 5 hours before me. There comes that first delta push right there. Look at that. Come on. Order book still hasn't changed. No flashing numbers here. Very, very static. That gives you something really, really nice to work with. Again, you can start to see that trend line, that first micro trend line breaking down. Let's see if we break down here, or do we sweep the high? Mm-hmm.
Well, this is just before the pump.
Okay, gotcha.
So we
still got more to go.
Up first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say we're starting to see a little micro accumulation here. And that delta come in overweighs that selling delta here. So that is your delta flip. See the trend line here in CBD starting to break as well. Coming up. No divergence to speak of here. You did get that bullish divergence here. Price is moving up, but CBD is moving up still as well. So no bearish divergence is forming. Kind of got a bearish divergence from back here, but that's about to get invalidated. Oh, that's some mega delta.
Which is weirdly the start of the pump.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's zero in on this thing. Oh, too much. My mouse is so sensitive. So yeah, you can barely see it here, but you did have that red passive wall soak up these sellers here.
That happens for the next I don't know what it is, 406 or something.
Right. And
just keeps on.
Yeah. and see how it went past that wall, but reclaimed that wall. That's exactly what I was talking about before in Bitcoin. When you see these heavy sellers in there, they might show you a hand, but that doesn't mean the turnaround's going to be at that very tick.
Yeah. See
So
that a
it's,
lot on NQ as
yeah,
well.
yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. You see that a lot on NQ because of the thin order book.
Mm.
And if you're playing with heavy hands, like spread can be kind of nasty sometimes. That's why, again, why I prefer ES too. Price was this? That was 28,953. Oh, so we got a mega pump before we get anywhere on the dump side. Yeah. So let's see what was up there. Now, did I see that right? 28,953. Okay. Yeah, it
There
came
wasn't
all the
anything
way up
massive.
here. Yeah, it wasn't anything massive. I mean, you had a little patch here, patch here, patch here. So it probably slowly killed the momentum. But it's, yeah, no, this is going to be interesting to watch it play out. Look at all that negative delta. I mean, that's just what this is telling you is that you're starting to get delta divergence. And you can see that in the bars too, right? So price is going up and then your delta bars is steadily going down. You're getting that delta divergence, but it's just, this is short squeeze city. Now you get that passive support come in. You get your first sign here, your second sign here. That means they might come back just in case they try to push this down. And just like it did back here, just because you don't see this here doesn't mean they're not going to come back in and put in those iceberg orders. Whoa, not that zoomed in. Damn mouse is so sensitive. All right, let's see what it does to this wall here. Yeah, so we're still seeing that delta divergence here, and then it gets invalidated here. And same thing here, or I'm sorry, opposing that idea, you don't see really any delta divergence as any strong delta divergence. So accumulated delta is not catching up. So really, like what I'm saying is, you know, just how it's said in the course, like you're usually going to see those divergences happen first on your delta bars, but you want to wait till your CVD catches up. Right there was your first little micro divergence on CVD. But we got a little ways to go. Almost there though. Yeah, man. NQ is wild. Wild.
Mm. Yeah, today's been especially liquid.
And got this next patch right here. Getting a little CVD divergence right there. Did go down. Couldn't maintain it. Yeah, and those fast moving assets, man, you got to be fast getting in, fast trade management as well. Very aggressive. Unless, you know, move up in time frames. Becomes a little bit easier to manage. Gives you time to think. And I would have thought, okay, maybe we're putting in a flip zone right here. Do you get that delta CVD divergence here as well? And does it break any kind of structure here? No, I tried. Come on, push. There's a nice strong push. And again, price goes down. So you kind of get that delta divergence there on that single candle. But look at what it's forming here. And that's your sign. At least your sign not to short. Man, went through that like
Would have
butter.
been a nice continuation play,
Yeah.
just for a little scalp. But then I would have been nervous actually longing it after such a extension.
Yeah,
Not much of a pullback.
Yeah, you're overextended here, but the context is it's NQ. Right?
Yeah.
NQ can do
Yeah.
this shit all day long.
Yeah.
Look at that passive support step in here. See that? That could have been a
Mhm.
potential area to trade here. You did put a nice little distribution in there. You had that passive player get stuck right there. That was a good sign for a short. You didn't really put any kind of accumulation here at that level. But now look at that. And it's right around this area. How far do you come back? Oh, that's it. That's it. Left the station. Now we're getting to that real turnaround here, right around this area. And so that's, oh no, you're not getting any divergence here yet. Why is that doing that? Get off of there. Starting to look like a distribution here. Waiting for that control to flip. Waiting, 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 waiting. Clean trend line here, building, and there it goes, breaks. One more time. Yep. And in about 5 nanoseconds, you had an amazing short. Wow. And passive control. Look at that. When you see that, that is a beautiful signal right there. I mean, they were moving that down with price. They were like, hell no, you're going down. Getting thin again here, though. Yeah, that was a nice move. Awesome. And it's still going back up now. Go back to the 1 minute. Go to some sensible time frames here. Oh. Take a look at that on ES. What happened there? What a nice pullback. Looks like that was the move here on ES. Bitcoin taking the high. Yeah, I'd like to see Bitcoin come back up to this naked point of control here. That would be my next favorable setup here. Revisit this range here, or this supply, and then break down from that area here. This channel is holding very nicely though. And this is kind of what I was posting yesterday. And it's great to see the dyno play out too, by the way. Where is it? Damn, I took a lot of trades yesterday. Yesterday was a great day of trading. Very, very nice. We called a lot of trades yesterday. But that's what I wanted to see. Right in this area, point of control, your monthly VWAP, and your channel low. So what I would be looking for next really is that next zone here, come back down, or just to rotate this entire range, come back up here for that daily SFP. And then that would really be a nice short. We could just continue ping-ponging in this channel. I'm also down for that as well. We do have another naked point of control, naked VWAP right here. But I'm not a huge fan of this one. I would rather see the top of the channel and the SFP happen. Now we could get that. Get your short here. Catch a long off the back test of this here. Catch another short here. Long here. You're kind of creating this upper channel. And then eventually get that SFP and then break down. So again, this is just kind of what I do when I, plan pre-market trading plans. Because I like to just see how I can first simplify things down with just ranges, right? And channels are just diagonal ranges. You can see trend lines. If you have nice trend lines, just look at it as a range. So yeah, this trend line also is really well respected. Resistance, resistance, resistance. You flip, resistance, resistance. Then you fall through and back test it really nicely. So this could give us a little bit of resistance. However, I do prefer to come back up here and just see this higher time frame narrative play out. So again, this is my plan going into the weekend. Kind of like that, where you can take these trades. You can take these trades, but treat them as scalps. Even back tested this after you short here, long here, short this area here, back into this area. So I think you get the idea. do have some liquidity right here, but I'm still not in love with this one. I kind of forced a low time frame mitigated block right there. And this is kind of one of those scenarios where I do things like that. It was a 30-minute same color block that's already been mitigated into, but I drew that in here because of this patch of high volume. And it could be running off of this supply here, which is a opposite color order block. But I just wanted something a little bit more precise, so I chose this same color order block. But that gives you some insight of like, why do I take same color order blocks for areas of confluence. Same thing with this order block here. That got respected really well. And sure, could be another time frame, same color block somewhere else, but I do see that happen all the time. And they do get respected. But I don't take them all, of course. Only when they have something of confluence that's special. Yeah, coming back into that 15-minute order block that we had there before that got mitigated. Fully filled it this time, though. Anyways, I'm going to get off of here, guys. It's time for me to go grab some lunch. And it is Friday. I might try to get into a trade or two, depending on what everything's looking at. And I'll post up in the Discord if I find anything really interesting. But I'm pretty happy with yesterday, so don't really want to give anything back. So I'm going to be kind of extra picky. And I'm really going to be focused on creating the last module of the course for the rest of the day, so I can start getting this out to y'all next week. But anyone have any questions before I hop off? Cool. Well, I appreciate everyone for being here and hope everyone has a good weekend. And if you have any questions, hit me up in the Discord. Yeah.
All right, bro. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, man.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it, man. Talk to y'all later.
All right.